Let's talk about what just happened. Because in the space of a single weekend, two storylines collided in ways that reveal a great deal about where American power actually stands right now. The first storyline, a real, dangerous security incident at the White House Correspondents' Dinner in Washington. The second, a coordinated Iranian propaganda campaign that moved faster than any newsroom, dropped multiple videos in rapid succession, and placed itself squarely at the center of the American political conversation. Both demand serious attention, and taken together, they paint a picture that no one in Washington should be comfortable with. Let's start with what we know about the dinner itself. On Saturday evening, April 26th, the annual White House Correspondents' Association dinner was held at the Washington Hilton in Washington, D.C. President Trump was in attendance, his first time at the dinner as a sitting president, having skipped the event throughout his entire first term. Alongside him were First Lady Melania Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and scores of senior administration officials, journalists, and celebrities. Then it all went sideways. A gunman, identified by law enforcement as 31-year-old Cole Thomas Allen of Torrance, California, charged a Secret Service checkpoint in the hotel lobby armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives. He exchanged gunfire with law enforcement and was tackled to the ground. Trump and other protectees were immediately evacuated from the ballroom. Guests dove under tables. The event ended abruptly. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche later said that preliminary findings suggest the suspect was targeting Trump administration officials, though he stressed that the full investigation of motive was still underway. One Secret Service agent was wounded. The suspect is expected to face at least 2 federal charges. Now, the dinner itself was already unusual before any shots were fired. This was a WHCA event with no stand-up comedian, a significant break from tradition. Trump has long resented the Correspondents' Dinner format, famously skipping it during his first term after Obama roasted him at the 2011 event. By not inviting a comedian this year, the administration ensured there would be no roast. That decision, in and of itself, became grist for commentary, both domestically and internationally. And that's where Iran enters the picture. Within hours of the shooting incident, some reports suggest within 30 to 45 minutes, an Iran-linked account released what can only be described as a fully produced propaganda diss track, animated in a Lego-style format, set to a rap beat, and directed squarely at Donald Trump and the American administration. The video mocked the lack of a comedian at the dinner, the security evacuation, and what it framed as Trump's obsession with controlling every narrative. The message was blunt. You controlled the guest list. You controlled the format, and chaos still found you anyway. The video ended with a tagline that has since circulated widely. The assertion that while Trump may control the dinner, he cannot control the outcome. This was not a spontaneous internet moment. This was coordinated, produced content that went up almost in real time after the incident. That turnaround speed is itself a statement. It signals an Iranian media and information warfare apparatus that is actively monitoring American events and is prepared to respond with sophisticated content at a moment's notice. Whether you find the videos funny, offensive, or alarming, the operational tempo alone is significant. The Iranian state-affiliated accounts also posted a written message alongside the video, framing the evening's chaos as evidence of fragile leadership, referencing the evacuation, the lack of food being served to many guests during the disruption, and the protests reportedly taking place outside the venue. These accounts connected the evening's chaos to broader narratives about domestic discontent in America, pointing to economic pressure, political division, and what they characterized as a collapse of public trust in the administration. Now let's turn to the second Iran storyline of the weekend, one that, arguably, carries even higher geopolitical stakes. The diplomatic context here is critical. The United States and Israel launched large-scale strikes against Iran on February 28th of this year, killing Iran's supreme leader and triggering a full-scale war that has now killed thousands of people, disrupted global energy markets, and closed the Strait of Hormuz to most international shipping. A fragile American extended ceasefire is technically in place, but talks to reach a permanent agreement have been grinding and difficult. Pakistan has been serving as the key mediator. The first face-to-face U.S.-Iran negotiations in over a decade took place in Islamabad on April 11th and 12th, led by Vice President J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Senior Advisor Jared Kushner on the American side, and Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and Parliamentary Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf on the Iranian side. Those talks lasted 21 hours and broke down without a deal. The central sticking point: the United States demands that Iran commit to abandoning its nuclear program entirely, including enrichment. Iran has refused to accept what its negotiators describe as surrender terms on that issue. Since then, the diplomatic situation has been in flux. The White House announced it would send Witkoff and Kushner back to Islamabad for a second round. Then, with Iran's foreign minister already in Pakistan, briefing officials on a new Iranian proposal, but having explicitly ruled out a direct meeting with American envoys, Trump abruptly canceled the trip. His stated reason was the length of the flight and the lack of guaranteed progress. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian made clear in a call with Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif that Iran would not enter what he called forced negotiations, while American operational pressure, including the naval blockade of Iranian ports, remained in place. This is the environment into which Iran dropped its second video of the weekend, a track mocking the canceled Islamabad trip. Its central premise: Iran wasn't the one who failed to show up to the table. Iran's foreign minister was already in Pakistan. It was the American envoys who didn't come. The video took Trump's Truth Social claims that Iran had agreed to talks, that Pakistan was mediating successfully, and turned them into a punchline, pointing out that Iran's own officials said no such agreement to meet had been made. And here is where the source analysis becomes important. Iran's social media apparatus is propaganda, full stop. These videos are not journalism. They are information warfare products designed to demoralize, to shape narratives, and to signal Iranian resolve to domestic and international audiences. The Lego-style aesthetic is deliberately accessible and shareable. The rap format is designed for Western social media virality. This is sophisticated soft power deployed alongside hard military posture. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Some of what these videos reference is verifiable fact. The ceasefire talks in Islamabad did break down without a deal. Witkoff and Kushner did not travel to Pakistan for the second round. Iran's foreign minister was in Islamabad and then left for Oman and Moscow without meeting American representatives. The naval blockade is real. Iran's stated precondition, lift the blockade before meaningful nuclear talks can proceed, is a documented Iranian position, not an invention. The third video circulated by Iranian-linked accounts over the weekend was less geopolitically sophisticated and more brutally simple. A compilation montage of Donald Trump across years of public appearances, claiming superior personal knowledge of virtually every field of human endeavor: taxes, construction, campaign finance, drones, technology, infrastructure, environmental law, Facebook, renewables, polls, courts, nuclear weapons, debt, politicians, steel workers, golf, banks, trade, lawsuits. And in the final line of the supercut, Trump declares himself, without apparent irony, a very modest person. The video lands its point through pure accumulation. No commentary needed. Then came a fourth video, one that moves into genuinely troubling territory. This was not a diss track. This was a violent, revolutionary piece of content calling for mass uprising, explicitly invoking guillotines, targeting a named class of political leaders, calling for the burning of warehouses, and framing American domestic politics as ripe for insurrectionary action. It interweaves references to Jeffrey Epstein, poverty, war, and class struggle into a call for direct violence. This is not satire. This is incitement content. And its circulation by Iranian-linked state media accounts is a serious escalation of Iran's information warfare posture toward the American domestic audience. The fifth video targeted FBI Director Kash Patel directly, mockingly calling him Keystone Cash. The video referenced the very real controversies surrounding Patel's tenure, the defamation lawsuit he filed against The Atlantic magazine seeking $250 million in damages, after the publication ran a deeply reported story alleging that Patel had alarmed colleagues with excessive drinking and unexplained absences. Patel has denied those allegations categorically. The lawsuit is proceeding. A separate defamation lawsuit Patel filed against a former FBI official over nightclub comments was recently dismissed by a federal judge. What is confirmed? Patel has been one of the most controversial figures in law enforcement this year, his tenure marked by multiple overlapping legal and professional disputes. A sixth video from Iranian accounts showed what was framed as a message of unity from Iran's multiple branches of government, a direct rebuttal to American claims that Iran's leadership is fractured or unclear in terms of who holds authority. Trump had cited uncertainty about Iranian leadership as one reason for canceling the envoy trip. The Iranian response was a visual assertion of institutional coherence, 3 branches, 1 voice. And finally, there was the broader geopolitical message embedded across all of this activity. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps issued a formal statement reaffirming that controlling the Strait of Hormuz remains Iran's definitive strategic posture. For context, roughly a fifth of the world's oil flows through the strait in peacetime. Its closure since the outbreak of the conflict has already had measurable effects on global energy prices. The IRGC made clear that navigation rights for vessels will not be extended to what it calls American or Zionist-affiliated ships. All of this brings us to the real political question, the one that sits underneath the propaganda videos and the evacuated dinner and the collapsed diplomatic missions. What is Donald Trump's actual strategy here? Posting in all caps on Truth Social is not a strategy. Announcing envoy trips that then get canceled because Iran didn't agree to them in the first place is not a strategy. Extending ceasefires week by week while calling the other side weak is not a strategy. What remains are 2 real paths. The first is negotiation, genuine negotiation, with real concessions on both sides. That is how diplomacy works. Iran has its own set of demands: relief from the naval blockade, guarantees on its nuclear future, release of frozen assets, and formal security commitments. A deal, if one is ever reached, will require both sides to move. That is uncomfortable for an administration that has repeatedly framed this conflict in terms of total Iranian capitulation. The second path is escalation, a return to direct military action, with all the consequences that entails, including for global oil markets, for American casualties, and for the broader regional stability that American allies in the Gulf are desperately trying to preserve. Iran is not backing down. That much is clear from every communiqué, every video, every formal statement out of Tehran this weekend. The propaganda offensive is itself a signal. Iran is confident enough in its domestic and international position to invest in viral content mocking the American president while its nuclear stockpile remains intact and its negotiators shuttle between Islamabad, Muscat, and Moscow. The United States is dealing with a real security incident at home, a diplomatic stalemate in South Asia, and a fully operational Iranian information warfare campaign operating at Western internet speed. The administration's response to all three deserves serious scrutiny, not from late-night comedy and not from Iranian diss tracks, but from the American public and the press whose dinner was just turned into a global news story. That conversation starts now.